In the whole situation, metamorphic after dope turns to cream. But one of these buyers got eyes like a Korean. It's difficult to read track. The windows to his soul were half closed. I put the key in, hold on flow, hoping my people flee in.
What's going on, everybody? Y'all just tuned to episode 92 of the Goodfellas podcast. This is Jigga.
This is Ron.
Big back.
DJ, what up?
Yep. Today we have one Peter Festa.
Peter Festa. Yes. Thank you for coming to the table, sitting down with the fellas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Peter, he's a lawyer. Can you give us a little in depth of who you are?
Sure. My name is Peter Festa. I work with a firm called Resigliano and Filipe, PC. We're known as RF Injury Law. And I do a lot of personal injury and also a lot of criminal law.
Okay. I see the initials on the cuff.
You got to represent.
Big lawyer. This ain't no funny time. This is a real lawyer.
Official tissues.
Yeah, too.
I thought it was just for Goodfellas.
I like that.
It's the Goodfellas podcast.
But yeah, like you said, Pete. Thank you for coming on. I know a lot of people are gonna listen like, damn, where this come from? But shouts out to you and Ant for connecting and making this happen.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. So like how we was pre-talking, how you and Ant actually know each other?
Ant has a boxing career, and he was working on getting some pro fights. And a couple of his people reached out to me. I was in the boxing business for quite a while, and we worked on at least making a few contacts for Anthony, and we just kind of connected. I think on the phone we had some really good conversations, right?
Right, absolutely.
And yeah, we just connected. And he mentioned the podcast. I've been on a few, always as a guest. Some of them, some legal related, not too many. Mostly boxing, podcasts. I've done a lot of boxing interviews, and when I saw it, I mentioned it to him and said if you guys were interested, I'd certainly be interested. So
yeah,
for sure. You were when were you involved in the boxing?
I started in 1998.
Okay.
And I continued. That was under Festa Boxing. Had several fighters. We did pretty well. We had a couple world champions in that time frame.
Okay.
And I sold that business in 2006. And again, I did that, and I told you guys it was difficult. The business kind of took off, and it was time consuming. I was also a practicing attorney at the time, and it became a bit much. My son came of age at about 8th grade at that time, and he was about to go to high school. He was swimming. He was involved with football.
Yeah.
So
felt like he was missing out on some things.
I had to make some choices, and sometimes they're not that easy, but. It was not an easy business decision, but it was a really easy personal decision. So I sold it. I had a partner at the time that took it over, and it was in good hands. And I started up again in 2013, and I named that company AR3 Management, and that went real well too. And I finished that up around 2018. Just became too much with the law practice. Just became, you got to make a choice, sometimes, and both businesses, thankfully, were doing well, but
that's good.
Made the choice, and but I miss it.
Is that
I loved it.
You feel like that's your passion?
It's in your blood. That game is in your blood. Mm-hmm. It really is I'm still in contact with a lot of fighters that I had that are still fighting.
Yeah, like you got how can I say this? Like your tone and like your demeanor, I feel like you were heavy in the boxing world.
Oh, I loved it. It was very good to me. The business itself was very good to me.
I feel like he was in the ring too.
Yeah.
I did fight. I fought amateur.
Oh, okay.
I fought amateur, and I loved that too.
I didn't know you fought.
I'll tell you how that really kind of came about too. It was an interesting thing. In between the two businesses, I had a little bit of a health issue. And the doctor said, I was like in my 30s. I was, probably about 33. And part of it was, you got to really work out hard and you got to sweat. And I remembered all these guys fighting and sweating. I said, you know what? So my one partner owns Ike and Randy's boxing gym in Paterson, New Jersey. Great gym. Classic. ESPN uses it for all their backdrops. It's like just hard floor. It's just a gym, like a real old school Paterson boxing gym. So I went down there and started working out, you know, and I had no intentions of really fighting. And well, once you start throwing, you know, and then before you're in it. And
this was in your 30s?
Yeah, I was in my 30s. I ended up fighting in a Golden Glove fight. I fought a Golden Glove fight, and I fought a bunch of white collar fights. New York they had Senator Bruno made white collar legal in New York. I fought at Gleason's. I fought at a bunch of places.
That's
so it was interesting, and I'll tell you what it did for me is it made me, you know, when you look back at things you did and how you operated as a boxing manager the first time, and then I went back into it, I had a whole kind of different perspective. You know, sometimes you're asking something of a fighter or you're asking something of a trainer or you want to make a change between a trainer and a fighter, and, you know, whatever the case may be. I had a very, very different perspective after sitting on that stool in between rounds. Let's put it that way.
It's crazy. Even at 30, you were still able to find your passion.
Oh, yeah.
At 30.
Yeah. I was a practicing lawyer. I was going to court and going to the gym.
So it started off as something like
It started off as a workout, pure workout. And I had a great trainer, Wayne Sharp, great guy. He believed in me and certainly had some interesting... you know, listen, when you own and run a law office, everybody looks to you for the answers. Mm-hmm. When I'm sitting in that boxing ring, as soon as I get in there, I'm looking to him for the answers. So it was a place for me to look to somebody else for answers. You know, so there was an interesting dynamic with him. And I listen, I shut up and listened. That's what I did. That was his territory. He knew better than me. I was new.
That's right. And to the people out there, y'all can all use that, because a lot of people come up to me and ask me, "Oh, is it too late for me to start boxing?" Clearly, it's not. It's never too late. Never.
Anything.
Never. No matter how old you are. Even if you were older than 30, they have master tournaments. Even if you just want to come to just
work out,
get your hands right. You know.
So
it's never too late.
Like you said,
best workout in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
So then, what made you just like want to go amateur? Like.
Well, I mean, it was really all I could do. I mean, could I have fought professionally? If I did that, it would have been at a very low level, just from a pure, you know, talent point of view and my age at that time. You know, when you get in the ring, when you spar, they'll put you in with somebody that, you know, they know is somebody that, you know, you can handle yourself with. You know, especially at Ike's gym. I've been involved with Dewdrop's gym in Newark, all the gym, Elite Gym in Newark, all of them. Everybody, you always are looking out for the fighter. You know, you don't want to overmatch anybody. You don't want to put somebody that's only been training for 6 months in there with somebody that's, you know, already got like, you know, a couple Golden Glove fight. You know, it's just not smart. It's not fair. Our gym was very much like that. So you learn in there. You know, it's like I always say, the market tells you. The market is what happens when you get in that ring. And sometimes I was able to handle myself with guys that they didn't necessarily think I could handle myself with, and sometimes I couldn't with people that they thought I would. And that's really the truth. So you kind of know the market tells you. And, you know, I fought a bunch of white-collar fights. In white-collar, I fought a couple former pros. So the level, you know, it was a serious level, especially in New York. Bruce Silverglade ran Gleason's gym. That was no joke. That was legit fighting, and I fought a Golden Glove fight too, in Haledon, New Jersey, Lenny's restaurant.
My boy P seasoned.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well versed. P is very well versed.
Winning cases, kicking ass.
Right.
Fine.
Pretty much.
And what made you?
He living like Proctor.
Chill out.
And what made you take the step to start managing boxers?
The first time?
Yeah.
Tremendous story. So much of my life is to me seems a little bit coincidental. But I was renting space from an attorney in my office on Market Street, and he was friends with the gym owner that I just referenced, the Ike and Randy's boxing gym, a guy named Phil, great guy to this day, good friend of mine. Phil had worked something out with this lawyer that the lawyer would write up a contract to take over a fighter that came over here from England. He had fought. He was an accomplished pro fighter already, fought on ESPN. He had lost a really close fight to Vernon Forrest, who eventually won a title. And that the lawyer had to come up with, a little training expenses, $500 a month, whatever it was going to be. So the lawyer was going to get involved. And to this day, I'm not sure exactly how it all went, but the lawyer left the office after the deal was made. I was in the office, so I had to deal with the landlord, and I needed the office, so I took over the office space. And Phil shows up about a week or two after I take over the office space, and he's like, "Yo, where's the lawyer?" I'm
So
like, he left. So he's like, "You want to do this?" Like, this fighter's thinking that he's going to get a check and a contract today. And I'm like, listen, I can't do it today. And at that time, I was with my current partner, Resigliano, and I remember saying to him, listen, you want to try this? Like, I do know sports. I love sports. It sort of fell in my lap. I said, I know I saw this kid. And the fighter was Adrian Stone. We won a world title with him, IBO welterweight world title.
Okay.
Actually, we won the super welter. We won it at 154. So he was with it. I talked to my wife. We signed him, wrote the check, and I was in boxing. Simple as that.
Just like that.
So how does it work when you're in sports management? Like, you write the check to them?
Yeah, it really depends. I know Anthony's got a little experience with it now. You can have, management can take on many different forms. There's many different levels to management. You can be a consultant, right? The level of pay is commensurate with what you're putting in terms of time, in terms of financing, and it really works like that on a sliding scale. At least that's the way I did it. I did a lot of full management deals where we would agree on a monthly stipend, and we would get 33% as our fee out of income. But we wouldn't, that doesn't come back to us when we're doing the club fights, when we're paying for opponents and different. The game is the game. So I always built it into my contract that, once you hit a certain dollar amount, that's when I start getting paid. You never wanted to take. I never took more than 50. A lot of times the fighter gets left with nothing, and we hear those stories. And then the truth is, according to some of the contracts, that's what they sign. I didn't want to make contract that way, so I carried my money from fight to fight to fight. I always made sure the fighter got 50%. So, but that's how I got in. The game itself. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of argument. It's a very hot topic right now about having a national commission in boxing. And as much as I think if you're a good and an honest manager and an honest promoter, and there are some out there, just like every industry, there's some good and some bad, it probably would be helpful to have a national commission.
It would be extremely helpful.
What people don't realize is I have to get my license if we're going to fight in Jersey. I have to get a license for the state of New Hampshire. Yeah. You go to Connecticut, depending on where you fight, you don't even get a license because the reservations and the tribes handle it all, and the commission just sits back and watches. I mean, it's different. The casinos are owned by different operations, and so it's different.
It's a lot of behind the scene things.
A tremendous amount. And listen, a lot of my fighters that I worked with, were happy with me in what I would do for them, but also because I was an attorney, I was able to kind of go a little bit beyond just negotiation if I knew they were really trying to play us a little bit. And, but it's a complicated business.
So listening to you talk, I could tell the love and the passion is still there for the sports and boxing.
Love it.
So what made you focus in on law? What actually made you become a lawyer?
Another pretty cool story. I was a college football player. I was at William Patterson University, and
Willie P.
Willie P.
Silly P.
Right.
I was a pioneer.
Silly P.
Pioneer.
Yeah.
Number 24. Anyway, so
What's
I
the
was.
running back number?
I'm sorry?
You was a running back?
No, strong safety. I was a defensive player. I went to Thanksgiving dinner at my grandmother's, and my uncle Chuck is an attorney. Very good attorney. He's up there now. He's 90, I believe, a little over 90. His one son, my cousin, was already an attorney, and his other son, Mark, was in law school. And I remember I brought my girlfriend to Thanksgiving dinner that year. That was probably when we, first started really going, bringing each other to each other's houses and stuff. And I started arguing with my uncle about the Giants. And at the time, they were called the Redskins, the Washington Redskins. Yeah. And we were arguing and arguing. Finally, he says, "Oh, my God." He goes, "You play football and you're really good at football." He goes, "But you don't know anything about football." He goes, "But I'll tell you what." He goes, "You really know how to organize and present an argument." He goes, "My son's a lawyer, my other son's in law school, and I don't know if they can present an argument as well as you just presented that argument." And he was sitting there. I remember he was sipping on a little scotch, and he very at the end of that, he just sort of said, "You really should take the LSAT." I'm like, "I don't know what that is. What the hell is?" I said to my girlfriend, I'm like, "What's the LSAT?" She's like, "I think that's what you take when you go to law school." And the truth was, I was taking a lot of science courses. I was going to try to become a physical therapist. Okay. I had applied to the Hunter College physical therapy school. I got accepted. But I remember I spoke with my girlfriend after that, and I said, "I think maybe I'll try to take the LSAT." And I took the LSAT, got a pretty decent score, and I just decided. I never really had it in my head to become a lawyer, but I said, I'm going to take law school. I'm going to go to law school. And that's exactly what I did, and that's how it all came about.
All off a whim.
Yep.
Nothing like that.
I respected them. I still respect, my cousins, good people. They became good lawyers. And he said he thought I might be good at it.
And the rest was history.
Just like that. Yeah. Short and sweet.
Ladies and gentlemen.
That is a good story, though. I ain't even going to hold you.
Over an argument with your uncle, you found your career path? That's crazy.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's...
It happened. It happened.
Yeah. What, besides, like, I know you said, you started... You became a lawyer first, then started boxing.
Yep.
With all that being said, because you have both, do you feel as though, how can I say this? Do you feel as though you have certain advantages of knowing how to read people fast because of what you've been through and the things you've done?
I think I see where you're going.
Yeah, and I think so too.
You could tell me if I'm right or wrong. I'll answer it like this. First, I would say that between my duties and my responsibilities as a boxing manager and my duties and obligation as an attorney, I think that there's a tremendous, I look at it from the same perspective. I think there's a lot of overlap, first of all, right? So essentially, as an attorney, it's like very clear. You get hired by people and you represent them and you fight for their rights. You fight for their freedom if it's a criminal case. You fight to get them a settlement if it's an injury case. In boxing, as a manager, you're really doing the same thing. You're representing your fighter, and you're representing your fighter to the promoter, right? You're representing them to the networks when you get to that level. So it really, to me, was always the same thing. So I didn't feel like I was going into a completely new. Yeah. While it may have been a new industry, I wasn't going into something that I wasn't already doing to some extent.
So your skills kind of transferred between different industries.
Yeah,
Totally.
Like when Ant was saying, I was like, do something like your instincts, your boxing instincts. Do you use that in the courtroom? Because you got to think of it. It is a battle. It is combativeness. Like you're going back and forth with somebody.
In both arenas, the ring and the court, things happen really, really, really quick. And you got to be on your toes, and you got to be thinking. One thing, people think, there's a fighter. Look at this guy. Look at Evander Holyfield. He's big. He's strong. Look at him. He's just gonna knock somebody out. Or look at Mike Tyson. Any of them, even Jerry Cooney, big guy, tall guy. It's a thinking man's win. Boxing is a thinking man's game. You know how many? Most fights get won in the gym.
That's a fact.
End of story. Good chemistry between a trainer, a manager, mostly the trainer and the fighter.
Yeah.
A manager that if there's input, I would have input into a fight plan. I would only do that when I was asked. And I would only do it when the fighter and the trainer were both on the same page with me doing that. It happens really quick. It's preparation, and you got to be really quick on your feet with your mind. Because things change quickly in trials and in the boxing ring. So, and you got to prepare. People are like, oh my, I just had a hearing. I've only been in court a handful of times since 2020 because of COVID.
Yeah.
I made my money in court. My office used to run where I had a staff, and I didn't even drive to my office. I would drive to court. Like, I just was in court. I was a court lawyer.
So when did you get the information? They're just...
Well, I finally went back to court a couple times, and it was a really interesting thing. The prosecutor was excited to be there. The judge was excited to have us there. Sometimes the judges aren't so excited to have lawyers like me in there that really press and push and win. I mean, it's hard.
So I get you. Like, you speaking on it is like you say it's like you going against certain prosecutors or everything. It's like, okay, yeah, I know what I got to bring my A game today.
Right. Period. And in my cases, I bring it every day because I get top prosecutors. I handle a lot of homicides,
Ladies and gentlemen,
carjacking, robbery, a lot of different stuff, heavy stuff.
So it's the same thing. You get like a scouting report, like, okay, who's on this case?
100%.
Who am I going against today?
Right.
Listen, we size each other up. We know what our strengths and weaknesses are, and it happens. I win in the office. I perform in court.
Yeah.
I win in the office. And there's a lot of, your question is great.
Yeah.
When you,
Facts.
as much as you prepare for a fight, right? And I prepare for a trial, there's still the wild cards. There's still, when the witness says something that's not in the documents, it's nowhere. It's not in the police reports. It's not in the statements. It's not in the grand jury. It's nowhere. And with you get in that ring, and a punch comes out of nowhere that you never saw on tape, that the prior opponents that he fought never told you about. You know the scout job. You know what you're doing. You go on BoxRec and you look up who he fought, all of it. How long did the fight go? Did he get stopped? Did he not get stopped? Did it go to distance? Was it split? Was it a majority? What was it, right? You prepare. And then all of a sudden it comes from a different angle.
Right. Got to readjust.
Right.
And that happens about 30 seconds into the round. You're dying to get in your trainer's head, but that ain't happening for another 2.5, right?
Exactly.
So it happens in trial too.
You gotta adjust. Right?
You got to adjust, and you prepare for as much as you can. That's why the preparation is so important. The wild card could still beat you.
That makes sense.
Both arenas.
Yeah.
That's true. You can use that in the fact there's Uno too. The wild card come out of nowhere.
Comes out of nowhere.
But yeah,
how did it happen?
Even I mean, I'm a DJ, so like even in a party setting, I could walk in with a plan or whatever the case may be. But it's more so like the practice and the hours I put in, on top of like being quick on my feet. That kind of keeps me on my toes and keeps me ready as far as like what I need to do for a crowd and shit. So that's very interesting.
I would assume you got to read a room.
Yeah.
I'd like to say I'm okay at it.
That's your wild card, right?
Like, honestly
That's
speaking,
the wild card for a DJ.
Reading the room.
And reading the room. And I could look at it like the wild card, like the podcast, like you coming on. Like when Ant brought it to us of like, you coming on, we thinking like, damn, like we really was battling going through like topics on like how to like still get you to still feel comfortable and like still appeal to our audience, and coming up with like that Venn diagram of like that common point of like, okay, yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's true. That's that wild card.
The law fellas.
Listen, Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Comfort level was never going to be a problem.
So yeah, so I definitely see that. Like you said, you never know what you could have your client, and your client says something that they never told you before. Say they fold under pressure and bring something up that, or they remember something when somebody else says something, and now you have to bring this back all together and make it whole in order to win the case.
Yeah. You got to go on, I call it recognizance. Recognizance and repair. The examples, I couldn't even begin to tell you.
So like when it comes down to that, like I know you probably had like cases where like it was in the favor of like the prosecutor and it's not really looking too good for your client. How are you still able to?
How do you spin that?
Yeah.
So is the question like that the prosecutor just has that strong a case?
Yeah. Like
Right.
Yeah. And it's a great question, because really every case we get the discovery and we start to analyze, what they have, and we talk. We have a lot of court dates where the prosecutor talks about their case. We talk about ours. We have motions that go on before the trial to determine what evidence may or may not come in. So you start to get a real flavor for what they have. And when the prosecutor has a really strong case, you have to, and it goes into another area where, and I think that Anthony and I kind of broached this topic a little off the air, but, how do you get your client to trust you? How do you develop a relationship? That question and all these issues come together. You have to have a really good personal relationship, a personal chemistry. The personalities between the attorney and the client have to come together and mesh to some degree. Because if you can't get them to mesh or sort of come together while you're sitting in the confines of a nice office and just chilling out, right? Or in the worst case where you're in a jail, but it's a private room, and but you're talking with them. If you can't have that chemistry there, how are you going to have that chemistry when you're sitting at a table with the defendant sign in front and the jurors in the box? So it's important, and I go out of my way to tell clients, ask me as many questions as you can, get a good feel for me, ask me hard questions, So that's number one, because I want to know everything. I don't really care about guilt or innocence necessarily. The Constitution guarantees everybody a defense.
Yeah.
Period. And the Constitution guarantees an attorney, and they guarantee the right of cross-examination, and they guarantee a jury trial and a fair trial. Essentially, that's what the Constitution requires. Those are the rights that go to someone that's charged with a crime in this country. I just want to know what happened. Not to judge it, not to analyze it, but in most of these cases, my client was there. It happened one way or it happened another. The police usually get there pretty quickly, but they weren't there to witness what did or did not happen. So there's an advantage there if the client can trust the attorney. So I like to know that. The relationship and that personal chemistry that I referred to becomes really important when I have to bring my client bad news. It's not all good. I joke around a lot, judges come in, other lawyers come in, and I say, once they walk through the door and it says RF injury law, Peter Festa, they're innocent.
Yeah.
And it's a joke. We do win, but it's a joke. Where it gets really sticky is I have to be able to give bad news to people sometimes. And if the case is that bad, if it's that strong for the prosecutor, I have to be able to tell the client that. They have to be able to accept it for what it is, and then we make our decisions from there. It doesn't mean we give in. It doesn't mean we definitely have to plea, but it just puts us on the same page, and that is where you get the best relationship, at least in the criminal realm, with your attorney, even with a strong case. Now, I've had some that we've lost, and I've also had a number of cases where the evidence was pretty strong. I beat a DNA case. I had another case where it was a murder charge against, my client was charged with murder against the guy and attempted murder against his girlfriend. But attempted murder means she lived, and she came in and testified. That's a pretty strong case.
Yeah.
And
That's wild.
We blew that up. There's ways.
But it makes sense, though, to get the full scope of what happened, especially for you, because now you get to be the most prepared as far as, like, presenting your case.
Our clients know. And if they can trust in us as defense attorneys to let us know, that creates an advantage gap.
Can I just time out real quick? I'm sorry, but you in here spitting bars. He is in here spitting, boy. I'm over there like,
I ain't gonna hold you people, but you walked in, I'm like,
yes, sir. That boy spitting.
I'm like, I guess it's just like how you talking about certain things is like you got a very interesting life on like how you like.
And he got it down to a science.
Yeah, like how you able to articulate and just like,
Right.
hone in on what you're saying. It's like, nah, it's fire.
Been a
Very fire.
long, strange trip to 55.
That's fire. So like you saying like, okay, you blew that case up. I don't know like if you're able to say this or not, but like has it been cases where you like think like, oh yeah, my client's guilty?
I thought that case. I'll tell you point blank right now. If I brought that client in, right here, right now, he'd say, yeah, Fest told me take the 12. I got the plea offer down on a murder and an attempted murder. So a body and a half, we call that, right?
Sheesh.
On a body and a half, I got him 12 with 85. Prosecutor was like, if maybe I can come down to 10 with 85, as long as I know he's
in.
He's going to take something. And I said, I have to recommend it. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be able to do to this girl.
Yeah.
I had ideas. I saw things. I told him what I saw. But if she answered it a certain way, you can only go so far.
Right.
So I recommended that he take the deal, and we put it on the record with the judge. I recommended that he took it. He doesn't want it. He wants to go to trial. It's his decision. We do that all pre-trial. And at the end of the case, he goes, and you told me to take the deal. Yeah, we beat it all. And one of the
So you got off scot-free?
walked out the door. We walked out the door.
Quit playing.
And
playing.
it was. In her statement, there were a lot of things that were said, and the way the investigation took place. It allowed, and again, that comes back to what we just talked about: preparation. I asked this girl. There were 5 questions that I knew were going to really dictate whether the jury believed her or didn't believe her. 5 questions. And I wrote probably 13 to 15 variations of what her answer could be to each of those 5 questions.
Damn.
And I knew. And I asked a question, and she gave the answer, and I went to that checklist, and I knew I was going there. And it worked. And I didn't skip. And I didn't hold the jury up.
He said it's a mental game. It's a thinking. It's really a thinking
chess.
man's game. For him to sit down and like, if I ask this person one question, I got 13 different variations of her answer.
5 different ways.
No, he said
5 different questions.
5 questions,
5
15
questions.
answers.
13 different variations
of each
on
question.
each of the 5. 15 on
That's
on
like
2.
75
I
answers.
can almost see in my head. I love my notepads. I almost see that in my head right now. I remember because you study it so hard.
You a chess
I
player?
don't think you could ever get
Play
rid
chess?
of it. Yeah,
I was about to say, it's chess not checkers. You
Yeah.
can tell you play chess.
yeah. But yeah, so it's a lot of times they have a great case. Sometimes they don't have a great case. And I'll tell you this: sometimes we win cases like that one where I never really thought I was going to win, and other times where we think we can win and we lose because jurors are very, very, they're impossible to predict. Impossible.
Yeah, you can't control that.
You get 14 people or maybe 16, depending on how many alternates the judge wants. Mm-hmm. They all sit. 12 at the end of they all hear everything. At the end of the case, they use they call it like a lottery box. It's like a brown wooden box. They turn it and they pull out. Yeah, so if you have 14 and you need 12, they only pull out 2. If you 6, they'll pull out 4. Those people, they don't deliberate. They sit in the court and wait. The other 12 deliberate. You have no idea what they're doing back there. It's so hard. And what happens as a trial attorney is you feel like you're deficient because you can't. It's difficult to predict juries, and the truth is, you shouldn't. I shouldn't feel that way. Like we're so used to having control over every little thing that we can have control over, which is basically our preparation. You know, the words that we use, and obviously mistakes happen, but for the most part, we perform. You know, but.
Do you think that is? I don't want to cut you off, but do you think it's easier to be in the offense or the defense? And I'm gonna like tie that into like boxing and being a lawyer.
Yeah. It depends on who I'm fighting.
Right.
Some guys I don't want to lean in.
Right.
Because I know they're gonna get over their skis and I'll just catch them on.
Yeah.
I'll pull them.
Because sometimes somebody might overexert. Wait till they're tired or something. You know what I'm saying? And then
at least miss.
Mm-hmm. You feel
me?
At
least miss. Make them miss. Make them pay. Sometimes. Now in court, that brings up a whole different issue, because and you're asking the question as a criminal defense attorney?
Yeah.
Okay. So first of all,
I like how he just slid that in there. Like, I'm not just only, he slid that in there like, I'm not only just criminal, just like.
What hat you want me to wear?
Yeah, like.
Yeah, and
it's more to me.
The reason I'm saying it like that is because as a criminal defense attorney, like by my definition, I'm on defense. Right? But as a personal injury attorney, we are the plaintiff. We are moving forward. We have the burden of proof. We're pure offense now.
See you later, Blanco.
And even within that situation, though, we have to cross-examine the defense's witnesses, and it usually is in the form of an expert. And that, even though you're bringing the case, you're defending, you're cross-examining. That's more essence of defense. As a criminal defense attorney, I think that your point still holds. I think you can approach it in a very defensive way, or you can approach it in an offensive way in some ways. And, one key element of a criminal trial, and you'll hear a judge charge the jury. Charge the jury means when they instruct the jury. Yeah. The defense has no burden of proof. In a criminal trial, the prosecutor bears the burden to prove each and every element of each and every crime beyond a reasonable doubt. That's what the judge tells the jury at the end of the case. We talk about it during our openings and closings. But sometimes there could be points that you feel like you can be so strong on that if you can actually prove those points to the jury, your proving of those points defends. So the offense creates a defense. Other times you don't have anything that strong.
The offense creates a defense.
You heard that
That's
bar?
what my trainer says.
And that happens in boxing all the time.
Ladies and gentlemen.
All the time.
That happens in boxing all the time.
One good hit, boom, all right, hold on.
But it happens in court.
Yeah, because if you push too much on something, or like you force on something, at some point you're gonna have to defend. Mm-hmm. And now that's where you come in with the wild card.
Sometimes you get an answer and you're like, oh, I never heard that answer.
No,
but that answer helps us. That answer helps us. And now you go on the offensive.
That's a very high pressure environment. I ain't gonna lie to you. Mm-hmm. Because at least with sports, like at some degree, you're having fun. I mean, maybe not for a lawyer. Maybe
He
some-
having fun with it. Pete
Yeah, I'm
sound
about
like
to
he
say,
be having fun
I'm about
with
to
it.
say,
Like, he
to
wake
some
up, got
degree,
his
he
little
enjoys
music
this.
when he getting dressed. He like, oh yeah, I'm about to win a case today. I'm about to win a case today.
Get my cufflinks.
Ladies and gentlemen.
In some ways, that's absolutely correct. But I only feel like it's that preparation that puts me in a position to feel like I could go have fun with it. Because when you know that there is no way that anyone in that courtroom knows more than you, or that they might be as prepared as you, but they're not more prepared. When I know that there's nobody in that courtroom that is more prepared than me, it's easy to sort of take some of that pressure, because it's there. You're 100% right. But you're able to sort of just absorb it, channel it. I try to turn the pressure into an energy.
Uses it.
That same shit applies for me with boxing.
Yeah.
You got
Exactly. Like
You have
exactly.
to.
Because
You could train
Listen,
as much as me, but you're not gonna train more than me. You're not gonna be more prepared in a fight than I am.
Ladies and gentlemen.
You may be just as prepared, but you're never gonna be prepared more than me. I'm not allowing that.
Because, like, maybe like a few episodes ago ago.
English.
Yeah. We was talking to Ant after his first pro fight.
Yep.
And I was asking him, like, has it ever been a time that, like, you walked into your fight and felt nervous? He was like, no, like, I'm always ready.
Is the nervous feelings be more so?
Yeah, like
before,
you said, like before, but like the
Yeah.
day of is not like he's sitting there like getting cold sweats or cold feet and stuff like that. So like, has it been a time where like, okay, trial is today. It's the last day of trial. All the evidence is out. The jury has to make a decision. Has there been a time where you walked in like, damn, I don't know what's about to go on?
Yeah. Well, in that circumstance, I feel that way all the time. Because at that time, because that's when all the evidence is in, closing arguments are done, the judge either just did or is about to what they call charge the jury. That's read the jury charges, so they know what it is that they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do, what they're supposed to consider, what they're not supposed to consider. Once all that's done, essentially all the work and preparation that I did, I take all of it and I pack it back up into my bag and I put it back there and I turn around to my client and I say, listen, I just want you to know I gave you everything. I hope you're satisfied with this job that I did, and I wish you the very, very best of luck. And the case is, it's out of my hands, it's out of the judge's hands, it's out of my client's hands, it's out of the witness's hands.
It's all on the jury.
The jury, they may come back and forth with a few questions or want to. A lot of times they ask to see the video again or hear the testimony of someone again. But for the most part, and that's a bad feeling for me, like because we like to be in control.
That's a.
I got to pack it in. I'm done, and that's hard to accept. I was in control of the whole case. The prosecutor was in control of the whole case. The judge had some control over the case, but not anymore. They go into that room.
Yeah, sitting there.
Yeah.
Who said the line? I'd rather be carried by 6. No, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Mad people.
Roddy Ricch.
That's a recycled line.
Yeah, it is Roddy Ricch. So yeah. But like he said, at that point you sitting there nervous, you looking like
It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Nothing you can do
what
at that
the
point.
jury's about to say on your life depends on it.
I would say that I'm more nervous and it impacts me more then than when I'm up there.
Yeah.
Because there's no way to prepare for that.
Right.
Yeah, because
You're nervous for your client.
when you're making your argument, you have like a certain type of confidence, a certain type of bravado when you speaking, because you're trying to be persuasive to like whoever you're speaking to. So now when you sit there and you can't speak, it's like you're gonna still show that energy, but you're the final call.
They make the choice. They make the decision.
What about in the case where the opposing team, you felt as though who they were representing, have you ever felt like you were in danger because of a case?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, witnesses.
All that type of shit.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my second murder case.
Man,
Second.
My second murder
shit
case
just got real.
happened in
Ladies and gentlemen.
the year 2000. Case was crazy.
And that was when the streets was crazy. 2,000 murder cases?
Crazy.
Sheesh.
And my client was charged with 3 homicides.
Oh, shit.
One of them was homicide. One of them.
Quit playing.
And he shot this kid.
Seriously?
It was like a turf battle in Patterson, and after he shot him. It was a very bad case for the defense because he shot him in front of a lot of people on Main Street.
Damn.
You can't even make it up. Main Street,
Yeah.
I shot him in front of 50 people on. Anyway, So anyway, after that shooting, this kid tries to take off, and he does take off, and he gets chased. He gets chased down. They finally kind of catch him. A group catches him on a corner, and he turns and starts firing again, and he kills another kid.
Damn.
And then he gets away from that, and then he ran into the, at the time, it was Madison Ave Diner. They got him in a bathroom. Somehow this kid comes out firing out of there, kills another kid, and gets out of there. And then he runs down and jumps on a bus on Route 80, however he got on the bus, and ends up at Grand Central Station in the city and gets out of the state. So that's my case.
So they
Nah,
found
that's a
mission on
crazy second
GTA.
case.
So
Yeah, I'm just trying to like.
that's the
Shit
case.
sound like a movie.
Something ain't
His
right.
life was.
Power Book 3.
At that point, I'm like,
He
I
barreled
don't know
through
if I
shit.
should take this. Like,
At this point, I'm just like, brother, you need some help.
Like,
So in
you gotta
that
make this
case,
worse.
the victims were from fairly prominent South Patterson families. And they were in full force at this trial. Like this trial, there was like extra security outside the courtroom. Like, when you come into the courthouse and you go through security, they set up one of those machines outside the courtroom.
Outside
The courtroom. So they
Imagine
had
the shooting in the courtroom, crazy, bro.
They had no other trials on those floors. There's 4 courtrooms. They had no other trials on those floors. So, and my wife, this was very early in my career, and Resigliano, my partner Bill Resigliano, was my partner then. My wife came. We had 2 young kids at the time. She came, and it was the first time she came to court to see me. And one of the victims' fathers got up there, and he testified on direct. He was questioned by the prosecutor, and I didn't even really get going or anything on cross. And the truth is, there was really very little that I was going to cross-examine him on. I had a couple questions about where they lived. There was an argument about this kid was friends with another kid, and that was sort of important to how I was trying to listen. We were gonna lose on one murder. I was dead. But on the other 2, I was arguing self-defense. They can't. My argument was you can't kill him because he killed him twice.
yeah.
So the prosecutor didn't want to give it to us. The prosecutor wanted life with 60. That's 2 murders.
Oh,
I wanted life with 30. I said, look, he's 20 years old. Do 30 years. It's life with 30. We'll take the murder.
Come out at 50.
Come out of 50. The kid might have a chance.
That's still a long
Prosecutor
ass
said
time.
no. So I went to trial to get that, essentially, is what I was trying to do. So I'm questioning this victim's father.
I'm not taking that to trial.
And this-
3 bodies to
To
trial?
motherfucking trial.
Clearly. What? All right, cool. From
Well,
hearing him talk,
I'll let the P hard.
I would have been that motherfucker like.
P, take it to trial.
Let's go. Let's do
Hey
this.
Siri, play "Take It to Trial" by Young
Take
Thug.
this shit to motherfucking trial.
Siri really just played the song.
Find Take It to Trial.
But yeah, so continue with this great story.
This is nuts.
So with the father on the stand, I think I literally asked him, sir, you live at this address. Your son lived at that address with you. Your son was friends with this other individual. And I'm just asking that. And this guy jumps up, calls me the devil, and literally grabs a microphone like this.
The father?
The father. He calls me the devil, and he throws the microphone as if he's trying to throw the microphone at me, and the microphone is connected by wire on the other side of the judge. Everything went into a box, which was recording.
Yeah.
That's how they made the record.
Yeah.
It's all, I think it's more digital now, but back then everything was wired up. And so the microphone hits the judge. The sheriff's officers storm the courtroom.
Oh, yeah, they
The
snatched him.
judge goes down, and they bring him right into the chambers. They put this guy down. Like, it was incredible. And I'm like, just...
Imagine the gas.
and so everybody was like making threats on me and threats on... So my wife was there. She goes back to the office. My office was not that far from the court. She's like, Bill, what does he do? What does he do every day? He's like, what happened? Then they call the office. They're like, Festa's a target. And, you know, you know what? I never got overly concerned about it. I graduated from Kennedy High School in Paterson, New Jersey. You could threaten me all you want.
Yeah.
Pete said, I'm about this.
No problem.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be in here. We can go do it out there if it's okay. That's like my first instinct. I think a little differently now at 55. You know, like any of us, I'm not the man I used to be.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, I was in there. I had a wife and 2 kids, and I chose to be a criminal lawyer, and I took that case, and they paid me, and I got to go.
Yeah.
And so I did. I'll tell you how I opened in that case, right? How you were just saying, oh, you took it to trial, like I would never take it to trial. You know what I said on my opening statement? I stood up, first thing I said, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Peter Festa, and I'm representing the defendant in this case. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you being here. And I'm going to start my opening statement. My client's guilty of murder.
What?
The judge, I heard the judge like drop a book.
Boy dropped his pen. Oh!
Drop the gavel.
I said, but ladies and gentlemen, he's guilty of 1 murder. And I'm going to show you that he's guilty of that murder. And I'm going to show you that the state failed to prove that he's guilty of the other 2. And that took the gas off. But you know what that did? That connected me with that jury.
Right.
That was dead honesty.
Yeah.
And I had to do that in a case like that. Like, why are you going to trial? And how do you, well, when you start it that way, the prosecutor did a great, they go first on opening and they go last because it's their burden of proof, you know.
Right.
They do their closing argument last. He got up and he's telling them about all the evidence and all this. I got up and said he's guilty of murder. I wiped out everything that he said. I said, trust me. I said, I'm gonna argue these issues. I'm gonna look at these things. I'm gonna question the witnesses. I want you to evaluate the witnesses. I said, but I'm gonna come back to you at the end of this case, and I'm going to confirm with you that he's guilty of murder. But you're going to confirm with me that he's not guilty of 2. That was it.
That's very interesting.
And we did the case, and that's exactly how the case came out.
Did you?
Nah, you the man, bro.
That's how the case came out.
Yeah.
He's the man.
That was only my second case.
Y'all lost or y'all won?
No, you won.
We got guilty
got
of
30.
one count of murder, and we were not guilty on the other 2.
Yeah.
Gangster.
Because, you know, I was going to say that too. Like, you know, in some cases, the best case scenario is better than just getting off scot-free. So how do you differentiate the 2, if anything? Because, you know, some clients, they're like, you know, I have to walk, you know, but sometimes that's just not feasible.
Right. That's right. And that's a great question. I look at, I mean, look, the truth is for me, and it's provable, it's verifiable. Like, I have a lot of wins. I have a lot of not guilties. And I also, though, and I think the way the court system sort of looks at whether a defense attorney is a good defense attorney or whether they won a case or, you know, how we're evaluated, you know, in a given case, it's very rare when a prosecutor has a case and they say, we're just not offering your client any plea deal. In the majority, the overwhelming majority of the cases, the prosecutor offers some sort of a plea. We may think it's a good plea, a bad plea, a fair plea, an unfair plea, but something, and at least something to negotiate. So in a sense, we negotiated, and I'll use the example with the murder case that I referenced a few minutes ago, where we had the girlfriend was able to come in and testify. You know, the best plea offer they were giving us, like on paper, was 12, and I thought I could get it down to 10. But if we put it all on the record, when you go to trial, the judge always is questioning the defendant. You understand this is the plea offer. You understand once you start the trial, the plea offer is gone. You know, if you have a trial, you could be convicted of this, and that would be the maximum. You could be convicted of that, and that would be the, you know. So if we get evaluated, if we can try the case in a way that the client, you know, obviously if it's a straight not guilty, you know, we win by any standard. But if it's guilty on some and not guilty on others, it's do we beat the plea offer? So if somehow I had that case with the 12-year offer, and I got him, you know, he ended up, I beat a bunch of the case, but he gets convicted of something that gives him 7 with 85, I won the case. But that's the way the courts sort of look at it. Yeah. I have to accept that too. The competitor in me makes it a little difficult. I go for it. I go for it. There's cases where I know we're going to get convicted of something, but I still go for it. I still ask them for not guilty on all counts. Yeah. You know, the one case I didn't do that on is the case I just mentioned because, I mean, literally there were like 50 people that watched this guy execute this guy. Like, I just couldn't come up with I was calling like all the older defense attorneys, and I told them about my case. They're like, "Hey, you
looking for some advice."
I do.
Help me.
We all
Please
help me.
Y'all got anything?
You call DJs. You call right. Whatever you do for you call. You talk to other boxers. Come on, you guys got a whole chain of communication.
So like, okay, I know we're talking about the wins. How does it feel during a loss?
Tough, heartbroken, and I've only had a handful of cases where we lost on all counts. But it happens. And a couple of them were cases where we should have won.
Would you say those are one of your toughest losses?
Brutal. They're brutal.
Or was it because of mistakes?
It's hard to say because I make mistakes in every single case.
You just sometimes
Prosecutor makes mistakes. Judges make mistakes. We're not, a defendant is not, we don't get a perfect trial. The Constitution guarantees us a fair trial. There's a big difference.
Damn.
Our system is not perfect by any stretch.
Let's always be fair.
But if you look around the rest of the world, it's the best.
Yeah, I was about to say, because in some places,
that's what I'll say.
You don't even get a chance.
You don't get a chance. I mean,
it's like someone saw you do this. Come on, let's lock this man
you're
up.
done. Yeah. So, I mean, look, everybody.
So in that lane, is it like sports, like with boxing? You know, we use our things with wins and losses. Like, oh, you hot if you getting the wins. Is the same apply? Like, your wins and losses? Do they like collect like, oh yeah, damn, nah, that guy, he only got, this motherfucker got 50 wins, and like, do y'all base y'all stats like that?
In law?
Yeah.
I mean, people, you know, I would say that I've gotten most of my business from pure word of mouth.
That's the best though.
That's really, and I've had prosecutors refer their family to me.
That's when you know it's
real. Judges.
That's wild.
That's when you know it's real.
When the ops is like, yo, you know who's a good lawyer?
You know, they would call me and say, listen, you know, on the down low, this is my nephew, and you got to do this. You got to take this. You got to do this. You know. But yeah, that, you know, I think that goes sort of to that question. Yeah. You know, how do we really get our, you know, do you really fight? Does a lawyer really fight for their clients? And sometimes people look at lawyers a different way. I get that. I would say I'm just sort of a born fighter. Like, I love it. And I just want to make sure that we have that connection. It goes back to that connection. And it develops that trust. Right? We get paid and we go fight. I don't judge. I don't, if you lie to me, I would say that that's really not a very smart thing to do.
Right.
Right.
Because I'm gonna go be your chance. I'm gonna go be your mouthpiece. Maybe the lie works, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know, because I'm not there either. Whatever went on in the street, or whatever went on in the house, whatever went on in the car, wherever it went on. Right. I had one case where it was in a plane. Guy got charged with an aggravated assault on an airplane. What happened?
No fly list.
That's it. What happened? So it really goes back to that relationship. You have to really develop that relationship and fight.
Yeah, because you know how, like, in general, people have, like, this preconceived notion of, like, lawyers and how people look at lawyers of, like, they don't trust them or they're not out for, like...
They all working for the feds.
Yeah, like, they're on the cop side or they're not on their side. You said, like, how, you try to make your clients feel, like, comfortable and stuff like that. Being with that, like, how do you, aside from that, how do you, like, break some of these barriers? Or, like at the end of the day, I'm a lawyer, but I'm human. So my intention is not to go out and purposely do something to put you away. Like, that's not my intentions.
Yeah, I wouldn't take the case. Like,
you hear stories or, like, you see in movies that, like, sometimes lawyers do certain things to purposely make them lose just so they could, like, some people are just in it for the money. They're not in it for, like, the betterment of like, the person.
Of course. I see it. I think that in some, I think it's rare. I think that most lawyers care. I mean, look, we're in a business. You're going to go to work if they don't pay you?
Hell no.
No.
I'm staying home.
We agree on a number, and I go to work.
Oh, so there isn't, like, a base number.
I do everything according to the case. I evaluate everything according to the case, and we agree, and we sign, and I don't want to worry about that anymore. I want to go fight. The more a client makes you worry about the money, the more you start worrying about your money, and you start worrying less about the case.
But you're not focused on the job.
There's only so much time in an hour. There's only so much time in a day, and there's only so much time in a week. And that's the reality. Biggest thing that gets boxers messed up is them starting to worry about their money.
Not focusing on their craft.
That's right.
But then, do you fault them for that? Do you fault them for them worrying about the money if they put in their body through all this, and like they fighting? What reward am I seeing?
Yeah, I don't. The money is very, very important. I'm saying make sure you get somebody that you know and trust, and make sure they're transparent with the money. So when the fight comes in, I'm like, listen, we're getting $30,000 for this fight. You owe me $15,000 in costs, and I'm supposed to get a third.
Damn.
Right? So that's $10,000 for me out of the 20. Mm-hmm. And I'll never, ever, the way I did it, and a lot of the reputable managers will never leave the fighter with less than 50%. And you just show all the money. So I'm taking 10. You owe me more than, right, the 5. I'll take the 5, and I'll leave you with the 15. And I get 15, and you still owe me money. But I'm not taking it now. And you just show the fighter every time. Now, that's not him worrying about the money. That's transparency. That's a business relationship. That's a positive business relationship. And that meeting takes about as long as I just did it.
Right. Yeah, because I took
now
my cut
you're back
already.
in the now you're back in the gym with your trainer. And me if you want me to show you a few things, because I'm good at film. That's how quick it should be.
Nice and neat. Easy and simple.
Transparency. You should be doing that. That's how it should go.
Yeah, really.
Right. I saw you sent a video, a commercial I just shot about bullying, like
yes,
anti-bully thing.
Brand new law, at least in this state.
So
just got signed like 2 weeks
I
ago.
don't.
What is the law?
Yeah, what can you go a little depth on that?
It's very general, and we're still actually learning about the law. Basically, it does attach liability to a school. Okay, it imposes a duty on the school to act essentially as the parent while the kid is in school.
Yeah, because it's like the guardian.
That's correct. And if the school, the key to it is this: if it presents an opportunity for a civil action against the school to hold the school responsible for any damages resulting from a bullying incident against your child or children. And the key is if the school's on notice. They have to be on notice. In other words, it's something that's happened.
Continuously.
It
It's on
happened.
record, too?
You've complained about it.
Right.
You know. You've sent an email. You know, Johnny is abusing or verbally abusing or whatever words you use. You know, my son Peter. You know, please. It's not a major issue, but Peter's upset about it, and I would love for you to maybe contact Johnny's
Notice they're responsible.
parents or do something about
your
it.
eye on
And
it.
then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, the kid beats the kid up, or it gets much worse. It also applies to cyberbullying in some states, and there's been like a lot of suicides, and bullying is a very tough thing. It's a difficult thing. A lot of people. It's very controversial too.
That's kind of like word of mouth.
It's controversial.
You say she should.
But we do get a lot of cases involving schools and kids in school, kids getting injured in school, and that's on the civil side.
Have you had a bully case yet?
We have not. The law literally just got passed. I was involved in a case, believe it or not. It was for a very good immigration lawyer. There's a bullying criminal statute that's been on the books for a while. If you bully a kid, you can be charged with a crime. That's different than if you bully a kid. The kid and his family can sue the school civilly. So the civil law is brand new. I was involved. The lawyer's son was charged with bullying. Some other student stole my friend's son's girlfriend. I think they're like in 7th or 8th grade. So
Stole a shorty?
whatever they do, they hold hands. I mean, these days, who knows what they do? But at least in 7th grade, if I held a girl's hand, I was pretty happy. Anyway, and I was able. I got hired. I negotiated with the school. They didn't push it too far. We spoke to the police. Our kid gave a statement. And they decided not to charge. They did like a mediation with the other family, and it went that way, thank God. So I've had a lot of experience with juvenile criminal cases, and a lot of them result from bullying. Even in the inner cities, get it at East Side High School, Northwest Side, this, Dickinson, just, schools. I know that I've had cases where kids were just messing with other kids. But it's, the interesting thing is I posted that. I did that legal minute. My partner wrote that legal minute. Very, very bright guy. I do legal minutes also. And I think he definitely writes a little better than me. He's a good writer. And but something happened that day, and he asked me to tape it. So I did, and we put it up. He loved it. He thought it was great.
It definitely was. When Ant sent it, like when Ant sent it, we got like a podcast chat where we drop topics and stuff like that. Ant sent it through, and like I said earlier, we was like going back and forth for like what to ask you or like what to really talk about. So he sent it. I watched it when it was in the chat. So one night I was just up, couldn't sleep. I watched it again, then I went straight to your profile. So then now I'm just doing my homework on like just seeing who you are and stuff like that. Like seeing you around like your family and stuff like that, on how to like gauge certain things about you. So then I went back to the video and I'm watching it and I'm just like, this is shit that really goes on. Like there's kids that in school and they'd probably be bullied just because of how they look or how they like their religion and stuff like that, or even down, not even down, but still probably to like the color of their skin. So it's like to be able to, when I watch them, I'm like, okay, yeah, this. I know, like it was a whole marketing strategy behind it or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm watching it, and like you just seem sincere. You just seem like somebody that like, okay, yeah, if my kid was in something, okay, yeah, I know who to come to.
Yeah, it's controversial. I mean, I tend to agree with it in terms of but when I say controversial, when I put that post up, there were several people that commented that why does there have to be a law? Everybody just wants to sue. Like, there's another side to that too, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, where I grew up,
ugly.
Man, rough in Kennedy High School.
Right.
There was no bullying, anti-bullying statutes.
Yeah, none of that.
You know?
And even, like, I don't even, to say like, growing up, it was none of that for us either, but I feel as though they weren't, like, I don't feel like bullying was like well, maybe because
you was a bully?
Absolutely. But maybe because when you're young, you don't really look to see or even care because you just want to have fun. You don't really see the effects of it. But I didn't really see any effects of bullying like growing up.
You probably don't. And I feel like just the environment that we grew up in, like certain things, it just became a norm.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I'm saying.
Like it's just like, okay, like for instance, I'm gonna just speak on something. It was I remember like being in middle school. It was somebody that like they had like a scent to them. So like anytime like it was like a weird scent in the class, I'm not gonna hold you. We all be like, oh yeah, that's such and such.
Yeah.
And then you like you don't think of like
what that's actually doing to
that person. You feel me?
Yeah.
You just be like, oh, it's just normal. Like, okay, yeah, you could just take the joke. Yeah, we serious sometimes, but like, it's not really you. It don't. It doesn't have to be you. But like that.
And then something knows, maybe he at home can't wash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like you
maybe
don't
that's
know.
Why he smells. Right. You feel me? So now that's really a whole ripple effect of whole other shit. And that's
because like
situation.
Sometimes people don't know about certain situations that why certain things happen. And then we speak on it, and it's like, oh, now we say like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know why. Instead of just like, sometimes just don't speak on it.
And I think the big difference between like when we were coming up and now is things live on social media. Like these kids are heavy on social media. So like one day bullying could turn into a month online.
Right. Yeah. And then think of that. Imagine.
Yeah, you're right. Because literally ours is okay. Today I got picked on. Tomorrow you got picked on.
Yeah.
Next day, like online, it's like that shit goes.
And then
it can last.
It can last like okay, yeah. We picked on him for like a month, a week. At a time, it's gonna go over. Excuse me. And then mind you, it's probably just the community of your school. Now think about something you post and it go viral.
Right.
Now you got thousands of people, millions of people see me picking on you. Right. Think about the mental effect that has on a person.
Yeah. Damn.
Now, when I go out, people gonna look at me some type of way.
You're right. Yep. I think your point's great that, in the digital age, I analogize it to, beer muscles. When you go to the bar, and you look over at my wife, and I look over and however many deep I am, I think that I got a shot with you, and I ain't got no shot with you. But online,
everybody's a tough guy.
There's no face to face. Everybody's a tough guy when they're talking into a mic or a phone or a headset.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen,
everybody's got beer muscles, so to speak. It's a different world. Kids today are exposed to things that we were sometimes not exposed to ever as a kid.
Yeah, honestly speaking,
maybe
some of the
as
things
adults,
that these kids have to deal with. I couldn't even imagine dealing with that at our age, and then that you come up for 2 generations before us, so I know it was a total different thing.
Yeah.
So just imagine just to be put in, imagine your 10-year-old self in 2022 and having to deal with all of this. Like, oh yeah, I don't do this the right way. Oh damn, I don't have a phone. Like I remember when I didn't have a phone. And it was like, okay, yeah, it was still other people, other kids that didn't have phones. Right. But now, you know, it wasn't something I was picked on about.
It's different now. Like I didn't get a phone until like 8th grade. Now kids are having phones in 1st grade.
Yeah,
Yo, my
second grade.
honestly speaking, my godson has a phone. My godson, like you said, is in 1st grade.
First grade.
He has a phone. He has a phone. So now imagine that. Imagine being in high school, you don't have a phone because, you know, say, for instance, your parents want you to live how I live.
Right.
And you don't have a phone, and now, oh yeah, you got to call my house phone. Oh, you booty as hell, you got to call my house phone. Oh yeah, my mom said I got to get off the phone. Oh, you booty as hell. Da-da-da. Now, boom. Now we now we in the cafeteria. Oh yeah, James couldn't talk on the phone because.
Hey, yo, James, you want to use my phone?
Like you feel me? Now you feeling crazy.
Yeah. It's a different world.
It's scary, bro. I ain't even gonna hold you. Like
it's a different world.
It's definitely scary. Like, so now I understand why some people would be like afraid to bring like a child into the world on what they got to deal with.
It's a different world. It's a different world.
Bro, it's one wicked place, man. I tell you that. This shit's one wicked place.
Yeah. For sure.
I kind of want to bring it back to when you had to walk away from managing boxers and you had to make that decision, because we had a topic a few weeks ago about like work-life balance and how you felt have needing to leave managing the boxers, and like what you felt and like I was missing out on things with my son.
Yeah, so the first time I left was purely my son, and that was the consideration. Mm-hmm. And that was not a difficult business decision because we were rolling. But thankfully, from a financial point of view, I was able to work it out with the guy I was working with at the time, so that financially I at least had, you know, some peace, and I got taken care of to some degree. It was fair. This last time, it was a little more difficult because, and that year that I ended up selling was 2018. I had 3 murder cases just that year. I did 3 murder trials just that year.
That's what usually is 1 a year or something like that?
I could have 1 a year, 1 every 2 years. So every once in a while you get like 2 a year and then nothing for another year or 2.
Mm-hmm. So murder trials don't really come around as often.
Yeah, I mean, how many murders really go to trial? And how many, sometimes when people are charged with murder, how many are going to go pay a private attorney? There's limits on the availability of cases. Right. But it was right to your question, it was a work-life balance. And, there were a couple of years where, financially the boxing business did as well or maybe even slightly better than the law practice. But then you have to kind of retool. You're not going to make that the next year. You gotta sign new fighters. You got to invest in those new fighters. You just don't sign a guy that's like 17-0 and start pulling $20,000 out of every fight. Mm-hmm. You build a fighter. At least that's what I love to do the most. I love to get an amateur. Because amateurs, you're either gonna relate to it. Well, you're gonna relate to it. Whether you hate me or like me for it, will remain to be seen. And I told you the story about Leroy, and I'll mention Leroy Davila.
Right.
He should come on here with you guys because he'd be a great. And he'll curse me out too, but he loves me. When you're an amateur fighter and then you turn pro, the difference is immense. And a pro, depending on how their pro career goes, doesn't really recognize that right away. Because if you're a decorated amateur, especially a decorated amateur, and you have the possibility to sign with a really reputable, network-connected promoter, like right out of the box, you're gonna have a few fights that they're not gonna be big tests. We'll just leave it like that. But sooner or later, you have a fight that it's very difficult to be ready for because you never really faced that. And the thing that I always said to the amateurs, especially the highly decorated ones that I had, and I had plenty of very highly decorated amateurs, is you're now, there's no more headgear. The gloves are not there to protect you. They're there to protect the other guy's hands. And you could pick your gloves. You get the Mexican gloves if you want. If you're a knock, there's a reason you pick different rival, different, right? There's a reason. But the main thing is you're fighting men that are trying to feed their kids.
Yeah.
The Olympics, high-level competition. But every time you touch them, you get a point. It doesn't work like that in the pros. You could touch them more. You could touch the opponent more than they touch you, and you lose the round because ring generalship, right?
Yeah.
All plays a part. Impact of the punches, power punches. How many times a guy lands 14 punches, the other guy lands 8, but the guy that landed 8 wobbled the other guy twice. He's going to win that round.
Sheesh.
He's winning that round. They don't care about the fans. That's not the game. It's a different game. What I really miss about it the most is the relationships with the fighters. I loved, I got along with my fighters. I was honest with them. I stopped the fight, and the guy wanted to kill me. He wanted to kill me.
Damn.
And then
That passion. Imagine somebody stopping you during the argument.
I know.
Imagine how you
Walks
would
in the
feel.
corner. Pete, chill, hold on.
Imagine how you would
I
feel
get
doing
that.
a cross-examination.
That's a little different.
My only, and I completely agree with that. But the distinction that I'll make is, I stopped it for his kids because he was about to get hurt.
Right. Exactly.
And if I was wrong, I'd rather be wrong, and he could live. He could live and be good with his kids. That's how I looked at it, and I just couldn't.
And if you even got to say that, then you did the
That's
right
it.
thing.
Right, yeah.
4 weeks later, he came around.
Like,
He came around.
Like, I couldn't even.
That's an
It's
Apollo
hard.
Creed situation.
Hard.
Yeah, I couldn't even because then you start thinking about how your fighter loves the fight, or how they feel about what's going on, and then you feel like you stripping something from them. That's the love. They love it. That they have more in them, but they're tired. They can't do anything. So then now when you take that from them, it kind of hurts you because it's like.
It does, but you know what? I might be taking something from them at that moment,
But I'm giving them something.
but they might live to fight another day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
And they might, they have a better chance of being who they need to be for their family and their kids.
Yeah.
Because that game, I see these on all the Insta posts about boxing is not a sport.
What?
There's sport in boxing,
Like you said, it's a thing.
but it is not a sport. It is a fight.
all right, shit, it's not no game.
Yeah, like we
Listen,
talking
no.
about
I've had
the
a
shots
lot
out the
of
knockout.
experience in there with guys.
Shouts out to
And
the
when
whole
you
knockout fam.
sit in that corner, or you're close to the, where we sit as managers,
Like it could be like I couldn't even imagine being in Ant's corner and have to tell Ant to stop a fight.
They'd be like, what?
You know the look that he will look at you.
That come with it because as a manager, he has to have his best interest.
I know that, but you know that like
I didn't make that decision on my own either.
yeah, I know that.
I nodded. They knew. I nodded as soon as he went out the 2 rounds before. I went over right to the trainer. I'm like, listen to me. And he looked at me. He goes, I know. I said, not now. Not now? Like, I kind of asked him.
Yeah, like
He goes, I don't think now. I said, but, like, we didn't even have a clear conversation.
But you just know,
I'm
like you
tight,
said, the
I'm
chemistry.
Tight. I'm tight. Well, me and O were tight. I love O. And he knew, like I knew I knew my stuff, and he knew I had that instinct. And so when I looked at him, that 7th round, my God, it was. Listen, it could have been another 3 punches. It could have been another 3 punches, and we stopped it. O threw it in. And it had to happen. He was going to hurt. He was
That's
hurt.
the part of
He
having
was
a
hurt
good team.
anyway.
That's the part of having a good team, man.
It had to happen.
You gotta, like, your team has to know, and your team knows you.
He's never quitting. That fighter was never
Right.
gonna
That's what I'm
quit.
saying. I would have
peeled him off, and he might never seen the light of day again.
Sheesh.
That's what he is. I know what he is. I wasn't even protecting him from the other guy. I was protecting him from him.
Yeah, because he had that dog in him that he wanted to keep going.
And you have to know you have to know your fighter.
That's key. A lot of fighters like just be out here jumping around, training, and really don't really get a connection. Like me and my pops, he knows certain things that I don't even realize.
Because he knows certain things
You know what
about
I'm
you.
saying? Yeah, like even if I go spar, everybody's like, "Yo, my God, you look amazing." My father be the one like, "You're not even in shape." Nah, seriously, like it's just.
You're like, this
It's
nigga
just
tired.
a different aspect. So I know the feeling he had, it was just all out of love. Like
Yeah.
that's what sometimes me and my pops we get in heated arguments or back and forth. That's just gym shit though. At the end of the day, it's love. He just wants me to become a better fighter. Sometimes it comes off a little edgy, but that's just what the sport is about. It's just really blood, sweat, and tears, dead ass. That's the perfect thing.
That very few people see.
Word. That's a fact.
Very few people know what it takes for a fighter to get in that ring. When you just think about that fact, I actually had a guy, a couple lawyers and a judge. We were hanging out. They're like, "Hey, we heard you fought a couple white collar fights, and you kind of like you got in tremendous shape. And how was it?" And the one judge was like, How do you have what it takes to get in a ring with another man that's trying to hurt you? And I never even really fully thought about it like that. I'm kind of embarrassed to say. I just, but it is, you got to be a little bit of a different breed. You got to be a little bit of a different breed. It's not for everybody, for sure.
Yeah. Facts. And then it's the part of getting in there, yeah, that it's the dedication and the determination and all the like sacrifice that comes with it. Like he said, fights is one before you get in the ring. And fights is one out the gym too. You can't just think you just going to the gym every day and that's it. Like, oh, I'm gonna win the fight. It's the shit you doing at home, sleep, what you eating. This shit is, like you said, this shit ain't no game.
Yeah,
This shit-
making you see your time.
Word, this shit's not no game.
Yeah, no. If I had to hear, like, if I was fighting Ant and I had to hear how he was talking before the fight, I would never get in the ring. He be talking, "I'm gonna break him." I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, I be in my zone, man. I feel as though, if I lived another life, I was a gladiator in a past life or something.
This nigga
For
said
real.
a gladiator.
Seriously.
This is Nook.
Right, seriously.
This
For real.
is crazy.
I'm dead ass. That's just, I don't know. Like you said, he love this shit. He love his shit. I love this shit too.
Doing it professionally is a whole other level, too.
Word.
Whole other level. Amateurs don't like hearing that.
Right. Nah, it is
But
though.
it is true.
It is.
Unfortunately, some of them did not listen.
Even
they
even
get
the little
cut.
tricks like that
Little
veterans
tricks.
do. It's
Listen,
Right.
holding and elbows.
right.
Welcome to the world of holding
Elbows.
and elbows.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Big facts. Big facts.
Leaning, body weight. All of a sudden, the guy's leaning on you.
Yeah, I could imagine
yeah,
you
that
dead
was-
tired of somebody
And you'll never
leaning on you.
You're
think
like, how the hell
that
did this guy
lean-
get on my back? What
Right.
is this guy on my... You hit him, and he wobbles to the right, but he's so smart that he starts leaning on your back. There's tricks for that,
That's
too.
all
Just never
tricks.
back up straight. Never.
Right.
Always take the angle.
Of course.
But listen, different game. Men feeding kids, like I said.
Absolutely.
Same thing. Listen, it's the same thing. We look at these college players, football players, right? Who's going to translate to the NFL? Think about all the top 10 picks of the last whatever number of years.
All the busts.
And how many busts? And
Right, all the fucking
you
busts.
got people that are like, college educated, advanced degrees, all kinds of experience, interned with the Steelers when they were 17 years old.
Damn.
Yeah.
Right? Or you interned with Belichick or, Chuck Noll or any.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Right?
Bengals-
And they're
Bengals
blowing
won, by the way.
50. Who did?
Bengals
Bengals won?
Yeah, they
by a
were.
field goal.
Listen,
What the?
my father-in-law is going to kill me when I go home.
You lost your ticket. Your ticket washed.
27-24.
I took him. You know why I took him?
Plus
I
money,
saw an
crazy.
Insta of a big dog, and it looked like it had tiger stripes. I said, Bengals are going to win.
What? the fuck is that?
To call a dog a cat is crazy.
I was thinking about the game. I'm reading the paper.
I
I'm
just
looking
had,
at ESPN,
one of those
and then
things.
this guy sends me a picture of this dog that almost it had like kind of tiger stripes the way it looked. It was a cool-looking dog. I said, you know what?
That's a sign right
Why
there.
not this
Bengals.
kid? Look at this kid. He's full of confidence. Full of confidence. He's a dangerous kid.
Nah, he is. He's nice.
And you know
He's tough. I
what?
ain't
You know
gonna-
what I thought? Here, we're talking about preparation. Hard to prepare for a kid like that. You don't have much tape.
Right.
You got a little bit, but you don't have a lot. You talk about stepping into a performance situation and worrying about what the wild card is. You know what Mahomes is going to do.
Right. He the wild card.
You know he's easy. He's great, but you watched all that film. There's nothing really else that he's going to do
That you don't know.
haven't seen.
Right.
This kid, Jamar Chase,
What's this? His second season?
you got second season.
His
And he
second
only
season, right?
and he was hurt last
he
last
ain't
year
really
for a
played.
couple
Yeah,
games.
he ain't
So
played
he only
much
had a
last
little
year.
bit of tape last year, and he had a lot of tape this year.
Right.
But as a young quarterback, they don't have their full offense in there yet either. This kid's growing up as we watch, so it's limited. Your ability to prepare is limited.
Y'all want to know why I had faith in old boy?
Well,
I seen whoever the Bengals QB is.
Oh, okay.
Burrows, Joe Burrows.
I seen son in a Nike chain, iced out Nike chain.
I saw that. I
With
saw
some
that
Cartier
post.
glasses. I said, whoa,
Yeah, nah.
okay.
Yeah, Joe outside.
I'm like, oh, you been outside.
Yeah, Joe outside.
Oh,
Yes,
Lord.
sir.
You got some juice. Like,
Cincinnati.
yeah, I'm like, hold
Cincinnati
on, wait,
getting
wait,
him right.
I'm like, wait a minute. Got some berries to you. You got some.
Yeah.
Berries is crazy.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, you stupid.
So you see how random NFL betting is, right?
Right.
You
I
gotta go up,
picked the
James.
Bengals because of a tiger or a tiger-looking dog, and he picked it because of a chain.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, okay.
Guess what?
Yeah, that shit, y'all
and we
won.
won.
Right, y'all won.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? I had KC.
Yeah,
Take it in the garbage.
Wow.
it's Rams though. I got the Rams.
I love this podcast. We just get like updates. I love this.
Gotta stay in time.
Like I told you, we treat it like it's a cigar table. It's just a bunch of fellas that
No.
sit down and just talk. Like,
I have a lot of experience at the bar, at the cigar table.
You have any questions for us?
Yeah. So how did the podcast start? Like, who came up with the idea?
I'll let James. Well, it was so.
It was like a group decision,
Yeah, it was a
really.
group. All right, go ahead. You run it down. You want me to run down? You run it down.
yeah, we can both run it down. You can go
You
first.
start.
No, you first. You first. No, you first. No, you
Basically,
first.
how-
You first.
Quick synopsis on it. Just, we always have like real conversations with each other. Been multiple times, either we in the stool, aunt house, my house, wherever, like a conversation come up, like even if we just kicking the shit, and then at a time it start really getting down to like real topics. And we all come from different walks of life, so it's like we know we entertaining, we know people tune into us. Yeah, some people may want to listen to it. Like now it's like a whole little thing like with podcasts and like people podcast just to they're hurt or whatever the case may be. But it's like, nah, we use it just like Ant couldn't pod for a minute, right? And
I had to rebrand.
yeah, he had to rebrand or whatever
Branding. New to me. I'm learning.
for the profession. But like Ant loves to pod. Like it's like his escape. So it's like with all of us, anybody that comes on, it's like it's their escape. It's like, okay, yeah, we sitting here talking, but it's like, yeah, I get to just be comfortable and just speak my piece. I don't got to speak on anything. I'm just my thoughts or my opinions or maybe why I could probably spark something to somebody else.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we used to have just group conversations, and literally we had one group conversation where it was usually it's be a lot of fellas, but we had one where we were at an event and it was women there as well. So we talking to them. Literally, we were just like, "Yo, we should do a podcast."
Yeah.
Literally, just like all off of a random conversation, and then we set it up. We already in cahoots with a studio in Elizabeth. We set up there first. We did our first video there.
Or the little pilot.
Literally on a couch, some cameras.
Yep.
And then we just elevated now.
And
then we went to Clifton. We linked with Bravery Studios in Clifton. Started. We've been on it for 2 years now.
Yeah.
What is
About to be 3.
Yeah, almost 3.
word.
Almost 3 years.
In 2 weeks.
what is the relationship like old friends with all you guys?
So we
How'd
met.
you get the chemistry?
We met later in life.
Yeah.
Like we didn't grow up together. We met later through. It was always a connection through a mutual friend. Mm-hmm. But we all came together
on our own.
On our own. It's kind of like that's why I feel as though it was destined for us to come together because it's weird that we have such factors in our team, like individual pieces in our team that's doing their own thing in their lane that's so powerful. But at the end of the day, we're all still together.
Yeah, we all coincide still.
We all still coincide, and it's like, it's crazy.
How we came together is really crazy. Like, I was just telling Nick earlier. She asked me like how I met Ant, and I met Ant through Marcus. Marcus is like the rapper out of the group, and
Marcus Araya.
Yeah. So.
Huh?
So like, I met Ant just through like. I probably went to like a party out with him, like Marcus invited him, or I was invited, wherever the case may be.
Nah, first time I met you, you came to my house. It was I had a.
Oh yeah,
I had a kickback.
And you was in there acting a damn fool.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like I met you, but we didn't like. I was just at your house. Yeah, I was just at his house. I'm talking about like
It
first
was
time
like,
we went
who
out,
is
bro.
this?
Right?
Acting a damn fool in my house.
That story's pretty crazy.
That's we can tell. I'll tell you that another time.
Yeah, that story pretty crazy on how I met Ant and whatever.
Opening his fridge and shit.
So it's like I met Ant and I was just sitting there thinking about it when I was telling him, I'm like, damn, I met Ant 9 years ago. Don't feel like 9 years.
Right, doesn't.
I met Blanco 9 years ago.
Right, 9 years.
I met One Up 10 years ago.
Yeah,
come August.
Nasty.
And it's like, it just doesn't feel like it's been that long. And it's just like, even, I don't know. Like, it just feels crazy. Like, it doesn't feel like I knew all three of them for a decade
we kind of all
already.
just met each other in pieces.
Right.
And then it started coming together.
And honestly, I'm a very standoffish person if I don't know you.
Yeah.
So I ain't really I didn't really
Trust or
like we were a team, but I'm like, okay, I don't really know y'all like that though. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So literally,
You were a little hesitant?
absolutely, I'm a very hesitant person when it comes to meeting new people. And so that being said, I'm very sarcastic, and I can be sometimes aggressive, and sometimes my sarcasm can come off as seriousness because I don't smile.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So my jokes, I might say a joke with a straight face, but I'm fucking with you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that sometimes doesn't play well with other people.
Right.
But
People could take it the wrong way, potentially.
Yeah, right. And because of that, sometimes I rub people wrong, but with them, I realized like some of them, James, Marcus, Maul, we kind of like meshed first. Right. Then everyone else, we kind of started to mesh after. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. Like Ron, it took me a while to mesh with him, honestly. Like I ain't trust him. I didn't trust him. Like,
this nigga don't smile.
He has an untrustworthy face.
He does not smile.
Doesn't mean he's not trustworthy, but his face just gives off, I gotta watch this motherfucker.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And
I understand.
eventually,
That's your perception.
Right, it's just my perception. You know what I'm saying? And then, now it's like my brother. It's my guy. So
I do it intentionally though, because I don't be.
yeah, same thing. Like,
Sure.
I'm serious. Because I'll tell James, like when he first started introducing me, everybody like, that's good. Just because that's his man's on me, and like it's my man's, whatever. So that's how I end up with like my own personal relationship with everybody. Like me and Ant bonded like at a holiday party or whatever, and I had to fill them out with myself versus like, oh, that's just Marcus and James and my man's or whatever.
right.
I look at it like this is kind of a young man's game.
Absolutely.
When I was young, we didn't have podcasts. We didn't even have an avenue for this. You could have a podcast on your phone right now, right? Different. That's why I ask. I think it's literally out of like pure, like honest curiosity.
Right.
And then to mesh the way you guys do is really. It makes sense when you say it took a little time, right? I mean,
it took a little time. Like we all
put 4 people right together.
Yeah, it's
it
like,
just works.
Nah, you gotta think of it.
Absolutely.
It's you gotta think about how many personalities and like
perspectives, all of that.
So it's like we go at it. We definitely go at it.
Yeah.
But it's like, yo,
that's normal. It's healthy.
Right. It's healthy.
It's part of building.
Work through it.
Yeah, like. That's what brothers do.
What would an example of something you needed to work through? What would be an example of something you needed to work through within the podcast? Is that a fair question?
Yeah.
Within the podcast?
Within the podcast, discussing certain topics.
That and procrastination.
Yeah. And being on time.
I made sure I got here early.
Yeah. You good.
It's funny because I'm usually the one that's here like 30 minutes before, and I was.
Yeah, James is usually the late guy.
Yeah.
That's the late guy.
Not always.
It's cool.
Always.
Honestly, if anything, just trust. Like, just putting certain things in each other's hands, like that. Like even outside the podcast, just getting to know each other, and honestly, like just taking that for what it is instead of trying to like make it something that it's not, if that makes sense.
Sure, absolutely.
And we're still growing.
Sure, it's a working relationship.
Absolutely.
It's a working relationship. And it's even more, listen, in my experience, it's been, there's levels, additional levels of difficulty when you're friends.
Right.
That's hard. Right. When you work with friends, work with family, so to speak.
That's kind of why I think we have a little edge on other teams.
Yep.
Because we weren't childhood friends that just not saying it wouldn't have worked.
Right.
But just to say it's just a different.
It was organic. It just happened.
Right. Absolutely.
Just happened.
Absolutely. We wasn't a bunch of motherfuckers just sitting on the couch like, yo, you think we could do a?
How long you guys been doing this all together?
Podcast?
Yeah.
It's almost 3 years now.
About 3 years.
Yeah. Next week or a week after
But
that.
the whole Goodfellas has probably been around 2016.
Yeah.
16, going on 6 years.
You sure?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is 2016. Yeah.
Wow, yo, not honestly speaking about it. Damn, Henny Day.
That was 2017. Because we had one every 2 years.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about like when it like started before we made it like a thing.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could kind of look at like Henny Day. Was that Henny Day 3? Henny Day 3 could kind of be like our 5th year anniversary party in a sense.
Henny White.
Nah, Henny Day.
Yeah,
Henny Day.
that's like we throw parties as well.
That's our
That's our biggest event.
Oh,
That's how we started off.
I had a lot of clients bring me Henny White.
Yeah. Straight from the islands.
Hey,
Where you from, Pete?
I grew up partially in Oakland, New Jersey, and partially in Patterson, New Jersey.
So you just-
and then I
same
ended
county.
up staying in Patterson. I graduated. I went to high school, Kennedy High School.
Oh, okay. So like, what's your
John F. Kennedy.
What's your ethnicity though?
Italian.
Oh, why?
Italian.
What's the last name? Fiesta.
Festa.
That's
said
the
Fiesta.
Fiesta.
Fiesta. Yeah, Festa. Oh, why?
You ain't hear Fiesta this whole pod.
Right.
We gotta put it. Get this.
He said his
There's
name was
nothing in there,
Italian,
brother.
and you said a
There's nothing in there.
Spanish word. We got to send you back to school.
Yeah, Italian.
Oh, what?
If you invite me back, I'll wear the Italian shirt too. I got it.
Why? Gotcha. Emily
Nah,
was
it was
cool.
a good pod.
So what are the
yeah,
goals?
it was
Do you
dope.
guys have different? What are your goals to move forward with it? What
With
are your
the podcast
With the
or-
podcast, what are your goals? Do you have like specific goals for it?
Domination. I want to be the top podcast.
Yeah, it's a lot of
Eat.
it's a lot of
Destroy.
There's a lot of podcasts out here.
Yeah.
Some people pod for no reason. Yeah.
And you'd be surprised, even if you look at the numbers, a lot of podcasts don't last that long, especially within the past couple of years since the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
People just start new things and, they just fall to the wayside.
Yeah, I would assume
Some people just.
And I want-
leave, groups break up, or somebody
Absolutely.
decides to
And
go in another.
My goal, my personal goal with the podcast is to, as I grow with boxing, I want to use the podcast to be my outlet.
Right.
To get people into it. Who are you besides? I know you can fight, but who's Anthony Jones?
Right.
Who is Big Back?
You want to know who I am?
You know what I'm
Tune
saying?
into the pod.
What kind of guy is he?
He's returning as
Is he witty?
a
Is he? Once people start to see how I talk, how I speak, how if I'm
It's a
funny,
unique
if I'm
approach.
cool.
It's a unique approach. I think it could work. I think that could work within the boxing and the marketing type of idea.
Right.
Help everybody.
I mean, you've been here. If you got any ideas, I take ideas from anybody. Anybody that watch, tune in. Like, me and Blanco be up to 2:00 in the morning. Like, I'm gonna say something on the podcast just for like the viewers and stuff like that. Maybe even like people in the team. I kind of got myself into a routine with when it came to the podcast. Like, yeah, I love the pod, but like my passion wasn't in it. I guess like my mind was in like a different place. So like certain things, or like the wittiness of thinking about certain things of how to push the podcast forward. And then something happened and I was just like, yo, you not on your shit. Like if you see something that's
You comfortable with saying what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Basically I just remember, all right, basically it was like a time last year when I was like, yeah, I'm not being comfortable no more. And I felt myself getting back into that comfortable state of like, okay, yeah, we just pod. And yeah, at first it was for fun. And then it's like, it's bigger than the pod. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than here to make a change, or like, we doing this for a reason. So I'm like, okay, if somebody else is putting their full potential, why you not? If I'm giving 80 and I see somebody putting 120, like,
Ladies and gentlemen,
if that's my brother, why wouldn't I put that same energy with him?
You felt like you were getting comfortable, like you say, you kind of fell into a pattern.
Yeah, I feel
you
like
needed to put a little more thought. Into
I feel like it was just
the creative.
Yeah, I feel like it was more like, I won't say it was toward the pod, but it was exerted into the pod.
I see.
Like my own personal issues
I see.
was exerted into the pod.
You would bring your outside issues here.
Yeah,
Word.
like
Find a therapist.
like
You were taking work home, but bringing home to work.
Like I learned that my job is that like once you step in, all that other shit you gotta leave it there, because
Right.
what matters right now is the mission and the goal. You feel me?
ladies
So
and
we can
gentlemen,
get back to that after we done with the job. So we clock out, but we gotta leave it there because it also rub off on everybody else.
Right.
Like
Even listeners.
even listeners, like it trickled down, like they could feel that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cause like, so imagine if you had a bad day.
You don't want to come here and hear about
Like,
nobody else. It look like motherfuckers.
Yeah,
just,
you
know.
imagine you had a bad day and you got to fight. You're not in the perfect mind state to fight. But you had a bad day and you got to present an opening argument to somebody of one of the biggest cases in your life. You won't know what to do.
Compartmentalization. You got to be able to compartmentalize, right?
Right.
So like
That's all that we do.
us speaking about this, like you said, it's a thinking man's game.
Yeah.
Us speaking about this, I was just like us speaking about this right now, I just thought about, it's a basketball player named Isaiah Thomas, right?
One of my faves.
IT4, when they was in the Eastern Conference Finals, his sister died.
Yeah.
Oh, you talking about little Lighty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they both little.
Yeah. No,
Well, the little one.
Not
the more recent one.
Right? So,
Not the one in my day.
Right, yeah.
so I'm thinking
bad
about
boy.
like, yo, imagine
Yeah.
your sister dying. Imagine you wake up in the morning, your sister dying. You're in one of the biggest games of your career.
Yep.
Imagine what you thinking about on that floor, bro.
Yeah.
Right. But the crazy thing is, like, everybody's so different that how you're saying that in another person's mind, it could be used as like
motivation.
Yeah, like now he's all right. Now I'm going for 50,
100.
You know what I'm saying? So, but after the game, I'm pretty sure those feelings are gonna come back.
Yeah,
but that passion and that drive could equate to like just him balling crazy. But it also could fuck him up.
Right.
Like he said, compartmentalization.
Gotta be able.
You actually can be fucked up over here. Right now, second quarter, something snaps. You don't it'd be little shit. You go look in the crowd, somebody look like your sister.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, now it's up.
You know what I'm saying?
We
I can think of another example. Was goes back, but you guys might remember. Remember Brett Favre?
Of course.
Yeah.
His Monday Night Football big game. I think they needed the game to stay in the play. Like maybe it was like week 12 or whatever. They needed it to stay in playoff contention. And one of his parents, either his father or his mother, died, and he left. It happened the day before the game. He left. He went back. He made the arrangements down to Mississippi. Flew back just in time for the game. Monday night, I think he scored like 4 touchdowns in like the first quarter and a half. Like blocked it just like insane. And he was great anyway. But
Right.
like they pulled him at halftime and they still and he was able to pull that off. It's not an easy thing. Everybody has bad days, but we got to do our job, right?
Right.
You gotta be built for it too.
Sometimes the bad days is your best days.
Sometimes they're your best days.
Facts.
You almost kind of feel like you don't have much to lose. It takes a little pressure off.
For real.
For real. It could.
Seriously.
It could.
Seriously. Word up. That's when you know you're preparing well. When you know your preparation is well prepared.
That's right.
Word.
Anything I want to get off before we wrap? It's the end of the pod.
None.
You don't got nothing?
I mean, there was one other topic, but
I just want to say thank you to you, Peter.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
You're very knowledgeable.
that's
human.
all I wanted to say. You
Right.
you let it all out on the table. Whatever
Seriously,
preconceived notions and doubts that we had, boy.
And we'd love to have you back on as well.
I
for sure.
appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, I haven't done anything like this
Right.
ever in my life. But I like being on tape. We do a lot with our office, whether it's the marketing or the public information type stuff, and I did a lot of stuff with the boxing. But to do something like this, I've never done it. I hope that it was good for you guys.
Oh no, this is
I
good
appreciate
content.
your
Yeah.
comments, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank all of you for the opportunity. I appreciate it. I enjoy it.
To like the viewers and stuff like that, it was like seeing another side of another story of like you came on with stories that was like so engaging, and it's like, thank you.
Right. Thank you.
You just gave the viewers like something to think about. Like some of the things that we was just talking about, I can't wait to post pod and just grasp everything that we just talked about, because like,
Is there a way if someone out here listening has legal issues can get in contact with you?
How can we reach you?
How could they reach you?
Plug yourself in.
The first would be rfinjurylaw.com is our website, rfinjurylaw.com. And a number that you could reach is 212-725-5755, or my direct office is 973-569-0888. And I talk to a lot of people, whether it's a case or not. I have a lot of people that I've had professional and personal relationships with. And, I talk to them about issues they're having, issues with their kids.
Right.
I'm an open door.
There you go. Y'all heard it here first. Open door. Don't be afraid to reach out.
damn, Pete.
He said, if you're injured, if you're bullied,
If you caught a body,
that was a good one, right?
Like the voiceover.
damn, man. Easily, I know I'll be saying this by a lot of pods, but this is my favorite pod. I'm stamping it. I'm stamping it.
This was good, man. This was
informative. It was good. It was great. It's what people needed, and it's what It's what we needed. It's what
Yeah, I
it's
feel
got
like
my
it's
Sunday gone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy my night. Sure.
After you lost your money.
I still got another
This was
one.
episode
okay.
92.
92 of the Goodfellas podcast.
Yes,
with
yes.
Peter Festa.
Featuring Peter Festa.
Thank you so much, Pete.
Thank
That's
you.
Jigga. We got P over there, Ron.
Big bag. Yes, sir. Oh, real quick. While Peter's here. One last thing. I know it's 2022. A lot of people are wondering when am I fighting again. I should be making an announcement soon. Stay in tune. I haven't really been on the gram because I've just been working on me. I've been fine tuning the little things that I need to work on because, like you said, this pro thing is a lot different than amateur. I should have something for y'all very soon, though. I'm looking forward to it. I hope y'all are, and we're gonna keep getting these wins and doing what we do. I'm gonna keep representing. I'm definitely keep representing.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Damn,
Sir.
I don't even know what should we call this?
I'll tell you what I'm gonna call it.
DJ One Up.
And I ain't stressing, baby. Money made me go the hard way, and that's a lesson, baby. Make these niggas hate me all day, that's my profession, baby. I've been going up and all day.